You're listening to The Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with Lyndia Grant.
Good evening, Radio 1 listeners. Thank you for tuning in to The Lyndia Grant Show, Spirit 1340 WYCB, the oldest gospel radio station in Washington, D.C., and we are the first contemporary gospel outlet in the United States. Thank you for tuning in to the Lyndia Grant Show. Today is Friday, January the 27th, 2023. Our show is heard throughout the DMV live at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And you can also hear our show on YouTube each and every week. Welcome to today's show. My guest today is Attorney Shalora Williams. She is a licensed practicing attorney. She does wills and probate and estate planning. And we're always glad to have Shalora with us. Glad to have you here today, Shalora. How are you?
I'm just fine, Lyndia. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. So glad that we're going to talk. We're going to have a little seminar in the next half of our show. But first, Dr. Julianne Malvo, I want to welcome you back. She's been off a couple of weeks, and just want to have her say hello. Dr. Julianne Malvo is Dean at Cal State Los Angeles. She's one of two President Emeritus at Bennett College, and she has her PhD in economics. World traveler, speaker, president of Push Excel, the youth organization founded by Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson out of Chicago, Illinois. How are you today, Dr. Julianne, other than you lost your phone and we couldn't get up with you and we were worried?
Well, I lost my phone, but I have backup, and I'm in Apple jail. And Apple jail is when they won't let you get into your cloud. But anyway, I'm good. I'm good. We make the best out of everything. That's what we have to do.
Right. There you go. Well, we're glad we got up with you through the email. Thank you for contacting me. So we're glad to have you today. I realize that now my TV is off. We might be missing it, but I think the video about the Tyree beating is supposed to come on at 6 o'clock Eastern Time, so that's 3 o'clock your time. I don't know what's going on, but talk to us about politics. There's so much.
There really is, but the Tyree Nichols case, of course, is at the top of my list for I don't know how many reasons. It is supposed to be airing sometime around now, maybe a little bit later. This young man, and then very thin. He had Crohn's disease. His mother said, if you look at the combined weight of those guys, over 1,000 pounds worth of them and 150 pounds worth of him, it's just brutal. What the police chief there said that what happened defied humanity. That this defies humanity. The whole thing is it's sad. What's even sad is people have not addressed it, but we must at some point. All 5 of the officers who beat this young man to death were African American. Mm-hmm. And that's just worth noting. I mean, we often talk about white supremacy, but, if you swim in dirty waters, you're going to get dirty. And so black folks who basically swim in dirty water with white supremacy, they pick up some of those attitudes. I don't know what made these folks think. The guy was passed out. They pick him back up and beat him some more. This is worse than Rodney King. But anyway, it is what's going on. Violence, for some reason, I'm in California, where on the Chinese New Year, 11 people were killed in Monterey Park, which is very close to my campus. 11 basically older Asian women, mostly, were killed by an Asian man. Nobody knows why. Then he killed himself. Now, that's why don't you just kill yourself and save other people? If that's what you needed to do. I shouldn't say it like that, but it's such a tragedy. One of my faculty members had an aunt who was killed. We had a vigil on campus on Tuesday, and I said to people, it's not just about, we have to do something about all these guns. Then there was another workplace-related killing in Half Moon Bay, California, which is probably about 50 miles south of San Francisco, where, again, about 6 people were killed. So it's tragic, and, of course, we all say it's tragic. We all say we want gun control, but nobody has the courage to do anything about it. We have more guns than people in this country. Literally, we have more guns
That's
than
right.
people. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
can have a gun and a half with the number of guns that we have. So it's challenging. Now, Congress, of course, what we're dealing with is the debt ceiling still. It, you know, we've got all kind of proposals from Republicans. One is to cut all non-defense spending. That would be Social Security. That would be, I've heard them mention PBS and NPR. Others have, one Republican congressperson wants to cut defense to pre-COVID levels. He's not getting any traction on that from his people. But basically, we're gonna have to look for some cuts. They have the majority, and that's what they said they were going to do. They really have focused on Social Security. And Lyndia, you and I, and who all else that we know, we're Social Security age, and we don't want to take that hit. But it's likely to happen, and this is what we're dealing with. People should start looking at their Congress people now to make sure that, at least to write them and say, look, I am a 70-year-old person who you represent. Why do you want to cut my Social Security? Because this is, the debt ceiling, they're turning it into a political football, but the bottom line is this. They already spent this money. They know they didn't have it. They already spent it. So to try to penalize people today for spending that went 3-5 years ago makes no sense. And why do we have such a deficit? Number one, Trump tax cuts. Number two, COVID money. But the Trump tax cuts were much more than the COVID money ever was. And so when we look at how we ended up in this position, the 45th president making tax cuts, and not for everybody, for the wealthy. That's where we are. Now, speaking of those people, the Republicans, the RNC met. Ronna McDaniel, who is, he was the chair of the Michigan Republican Party, has now got a fourth term as RNC chair. It's very ironic. She came in saying she was going to change things, reform, but she and the 45th president have become fast friends, and so he was backing her. There was a little bit of a prelude to what we expect to see in 2024, in that while he was backing Ronna McDaniel, Ron DeSantis was backing a woman, Harmeet Dillon. Ronna got 111 votes. Harmeet got 51. So it wasn't a close contest at all. But what some people see it as a proxy of a Trump DeSantis contest, because each of them was backing a different person. I don't know how that's going to play out, but that's what we have in terms of that. And it is, the Republican Party is just not having a good time. Now, speaking of DeSantis, this man has banned the teaching of AP Black Studies in the state of Florida. So AP Black Studies will allow students to come to school with college credit in Black Studies. They have AP European Studies, AP Jewish Studies, so why not Black Studies? There's a lawsuit coming. But, the University of Florida has a really great Black Studies department, so it's really challenging that they would want to cut that. But there we have it.
We can hear you all in the studio. We can hear you. Sorry. Go ahead, Dr. Drew.
No, so I was just saying that DeSantis and the AP Black Studies. But what we have to really look at this time, the Congress, McCarthy is not exhibiting good leadership. He hasn't got his party under control, and that's
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He doesn't have his party under control. This is going to mean a rocky road for all of us. So I'm sure there'll be more to talk about next week.
Okay. Well, thank you, Dr. J. We're glad to have you. Always glad to have you talk about politics for us. Now maybe you can watch and see. I don't know if I want to see this video.
I'm not sure I want to see it. I'm going to turn it on and see what the commentator said. I don't know. I want to watch it. His mother said she can't watch it. He can't watch it.
And I can truly understand that. All right, then. Thank you, and we'll talk to you next week. Dr. Julianne Malvo, we thank you so much. We're going to go to our commercial break, and when we return, we will talk to attorney Shalor Williams. Back in a moment.
If it wasn't for my care coach at AmeriHealth, I probably wouldn't be so healthy right now. As a man, we don't get checkups or see a doctor regularly anyways. It's probably just a man thing because none of my partners go either. We know we should, but we just don't, and hope it works out.
So what changed for you?
AmeriHealth assigned me a care coach, somebody that gives one-on-one help, answer questions, explain things, and help set my appointments. She also helped me understand what having high blood pressure really means and ways to manage it so it doesn't kill me. It ain't nothing to play with. If you're a member of AmeriHealth, ask for a care coach. I'm glad I got mine.
At AmeriHealth, if you need a care coach, you can have one. Just call us at 1-877-759-6224 to get connected. 1-877-759-6224. This program is funded in part by the government of the District of Columbia Department of Healthcare Finance. Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Washington Informer religion columnist Lyndia Grant.
Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a segregated Montgomery bus. In lectures on brotherhood, Ms. Parks often said, "People always say that I didn't give up my seat because I was tired." But that wasn't true. I was not tired physically. I was not old. I was 42. No, the only tired I was tired of giving in. Driven out of Montgomery by harassment and death threats, Detroit, Michigan became her new home. Rosa Parks will always be remembered as the mother of the civil rights movement. Raised in the AME church, she once said, "I remember finding such comfort and peace while reading the Bible."
Read more in the religion column of the Washington Informer, an award-winning African-American newspaper. We don't report crime or gossip, just positive news. Pick up the Washington Informer or visit us online at washingtoninformer.com. Call 202-561-4100 for more information.
This is Frank Smith with the African American Civil War Museum in Washington, D.C., located at 1925 Vermont Avenue Northwest on the Green Line. Did you know that a recent study found that children who visit museums do better in school and in life than children who do not? So parents, teachers, and preachers, let's get moving. I promise you, if you bring your children to the African American Civil War Museum, they will be inspired by the images that they see. They will be impressed by our living history reenactors who are always available, and they will be involved in our scavenger hunt that takes them throughout our exhibit. That's the African American Civil War Museum, 1925 Vermont Avenue. Our hours are 10 to 6:30 on weekdays, 12 to 4 on Saturdays and Sundays. See it, be inspired.
Well, thank you for tuning in to the Lyndia Grant Show. We're back for our second half. We're going to now talk to attorney Shalor Williams. Shalor Williams graduated from Georgetown University School of Law, and I met her when she was the chief of staff down at the office of Councilman Frank Smith. So we worked together for 10 years or more, and I've been working with her quite a bit on this, that, and the other since she left. But she has really been doing a lot of work over at her law firm in Maryland, Largo, I think it is. But anyway, Shalor is going to kind of give us Atlanta. She's going to give us some background on her law firm and the kind of work that she's working on right now. Go ahead, Shalor.
Thank you, Lyndia. Lyndia, it is so great to be on your show again. You know, I was just listening to the news about the killing of that young man, and any day we all could die just by natural causes. Do you know, Lyndia, that 295,000 people a week die from COVID?
No, I didn't know that.
And there are 27,000 people who are still in the hospital in the United States because of COVID. And only 15% of the population of the United States is boosted. Now, I bring that up because we are in our own right inviting death or sickness. We're inviting it. And then you have the outburst of people just killing people at malls or killing people, the police are beating people to death. So I'm trying to say to your public, it's time to get ourselves in order, get things in order. We're not going to live forever. I've been blessed to live several years, and fortunately, I have a will, a power of attorney for finances, and a health care power of attorney. Lyndia, do you think that your listeners have the same thing? Or do you think that they really know what they need? Why do you think they do not get a will? They don't get a will because they don't think they're going to die. Not that day. But we plan ahead of time, and that's why we prepare wills. We prepare wills for our families to carry on after we're gone. It's like an investment. It says, I have a child. Now, the only thing I have is maybe $100 in the bank or a car. But I want my child to have what I have, what I am going to leave my child. I wasn't able to leave my child a lot while I was living, but this is mine, and I want to pass it on. So I do believe if we can pass on what we believe are our assets, it will help our young children, the young population, to do better. But senior citizens such as myself, we don't worry about leaving this earth. What we worry about is, are we going to be in the hospital? Who's going to take care of us when we're in the hospital? Do you know that I visit a good friend of mine in these assisted living places, and not too many people go visit them. Not too many people are around them. And they don't have anybody to talk to the doctors and the nurses and to worry about their medicine. That's why you need what they call an advanced health care plan. You need a document that says Advanced Health Care Power of Attorney or Advanced Health Care Directive. You need that document. You need a last will and testament. You need a power of attorney to have someone help you pay your bills when you can't pay your bills, when you're in the hospital, or when you're sick, or when you're old. We don't do that. But I want to tell your listeners, I want them to call me. I don't need to have their business all the time. They might have a question. And I want you to call 301-341-5577. Now, I cannot tell you what estate documents to use in the 3,000 counties of the United States, but I can lead you to the right direction. I can help you think through these processes. I had a client come in, or a potential client come in, and this client has spent about $3,000 on what you call a living trust. Now, Lindy, there is a big difference between a living trust and a will. A living trust, people tell you, well, why don't you, well, I want a living trust. And I ask why. The major reason that I'm told is I don't want to have to pay the probate costs. Well, I can guarantee you, if you pay from $2,500 to $4,000 for a living trust, you are paying that up front. If you pay probate costs, your estate is going to pay the cost. And I don't know what people are thinking about sometimes. Maybe it's the inheritance tax. But, Lyndia, in Maryland, if you're my child, if you're my mother, if you're my sister, if you're my brother, if you're my aunt, if you don't pay inheritance tax. If you're my wife or my husband, you do not pay inheritance tax. So it can't be that. Don't let that be the reason why you choose a living trust over putting a will together and two power of attorney. I could put, and any other lawyer could put, could prepare a will for you, a power of attorney for finances, and a power of attorney for health care, and you would never spend $2,500 to $4,000 for those 3 documents. But you will for a living trust. And
wow. Mm-hmm.
Now tell me, people don't understand when you put a living trust together, it's a document that says everything I own, I'm going to incorporate it. But they don't say the word incorporate, but that's what a living trust does. I own a car, I own a house, I own a little property in New York. You put all those addresses, all that property in, you just write it out in a document. And one day you might want to change who your trustee is. It will cost you almost $1,000 to change it, because changing a living trust costs much more than changing information in your will or the 2 power of attorneys that you need. So I invite people, if you don't want to call Shalora Williams, call an attorney. If you want a living trust,
somewhere,
you got to call somebody. And if you sure you want a living trust, one question you should ask is, do I really need this living trust? Is there any other document to do what I want to do when I'm gone other than a living trust? And that lawyer will tell you about these other 3 documents. I try to tell you this every time I come on. You want a last will and testament, you want a health care power of attorney, and you want a durable power of attorney. These documents will carry...
Shalor, I want to just say we only got a couple more minutes, so do you have any special deals for my listeners?
Well, you know your listeners get a special deal, Lyndia.
I know they do. That's what I want you to tell them.
You can get the best deal possible, and that is up to 50% of whatever document I have for them. And that's like personal, in-person consultation, the last will and testament, the durable power of attorney, and the healthcare power of attorney. A great big package for them, for that individual, for that listener. All you have to do is listen. All you have to do is say, Lyndia Grant. That's all you have to say to me.
Amen. I love that.
And Lyndia, you tell them that up to 50%. The reason why I say up to 50% is because sometimes people put a whole lot of information in a will. And sometimes you don't need a whole lot of information, but they want to give everybody in their family 10% of whatever it is they have. That's a lot of writing. That's a lot of time. But a regular will, look, a simple will, honestly, they'll see the difference. They'll see the discount that you give them. It's not me. You're giving them that discount.
Yes. For listening to the Lyndia Grant Show, tell them your address and telephone number again. Okay.
This is Shalora Williams. You can reach me at 1450 Mercantile Lane, Suite 155. My telephone number is 301-341-5577. My email address is sacw@verizon.net. And please call me. I'll answer whatever question you have. If I can't answer it, I'll help you find somebody that can.
All right. That was good, Shalora. I thank her so much for coming on. I usually have her on in the early part of January, but that's all right. We got her in before the month was over because we got a brand new year here, and we thank God for that opportunity because everybody won't get one. So we wanted to make sure that she gave you all a lesson, and so she was full of new information, good information. And we thank you for being our guest today, Shalora.
And hopefully next time, Lyndia, I can talk about the probate process.
Okay. All right. Attorney Shalora Williams, thanks a lot. All right. Well, folks, that does it. Go ahead.
No, I just said thank you.
All right. That does it for our show this week. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and never miss an episode. A copy of our show will show up on your computer automatically. Read my column in the Washington Informer newspaper. And give us a call at 240-602-6295 if you have a good show idea. Next week, we have another great show for you. It's going to be a word from Reverend Dr. Zena Pierre. She is a pastor, and we just want to give you a word from God because she's a preaching woman. I love her preaching. Then every Sunday, we ask you to join us at the All Nations Baptist Church, where our pastor is the Reverend Dr. James Coleman. We're located at number 2 Rhode Island Avenue Northeast, right at North Capitol and Rhode Island Avenue. Look for the church with the red doors. We hope this show with Dr. Julianne Malvo and attorney Shalor Williams has been helpful to you. Earl Nightingale once said, "Words, thoughts, and deeds have a boomerang effect. So be careful what you send out. We do become what we think about." And Scripture says, "My people perish for the lack of knowledge." So think on these things from the Lyndia Grant Show. I'm your host. Until next week, good day.
Thank you for listening to the Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with your host, Lyndia Grant.